Let's do some feedback from the audience. All right. It is Friday. It's time for feedback. We call it Friday Feedback. You can email info@davidpakman.com. You might be featured if you leave a YouTube comment or post something to the subreddit. It's anyone's guess how you might end up in this segment. We start with something. I could spend an hour just doing this sort of thing. I'm not going to do it. But just to give you a sense, I try to have categories of things that I receive. Here is one category that I get a lot, especially lately. Musa wrote in and said, F you, Zionist foods bag. Now, I don't know what foods bag means. I don't know if that's some kind of insult that I'm not familiar with or if it's a typo. But Musa says F you and spells out the whole word, which we can't say for FCC reasons. F you, Zionist foods bag. So presented with no further comment. I get a bunch of those every single day. Kared wrote in response to our coverage of Candace Owens's interview with Bill Maher. Kared says, no one has been to the moon, period. This is a great example of people with extreme confidence, unwavering confidence, almost explosive confidence in something for which they have no ability to defend. We have all of this great evidence of having been to the moon, including the observations of independent space agencies in other countries who would be very incentivized to say, hey, you know what? The U.S. lied. No, they have the observational data. We have the moon rocks. We have all of the astronauts who have gone and come back and told the story. And it almost would be more difficult to stage the entire thing. Like that's actually the point where we're at on this moon landing thing. And yet people continue to say it. It's very, very strange. Shirley wrote in and says, wow, mansplainer of the year. Only people interested in politics would look at these videos. Therefore, I found it astounding that you think that you're explaining the obvious was necessary, but it's the wrong "your," by the way. So listen, sometimes people criticize me and they go, David, you know, when you explain the difference between debt and deficit, when you talk about that issue, you really don't need to do it. Like everybody understands that. I can assure you, not everybody understands that. You should see the emails that I get. When people write in and they say, David, I can't stand that you said that the debt has decreased under such president. I never said that. I might have been talking about the deficit, or I might have been talking about the rate of increase of the deficit, but I never said that the debt decreased. Anyway, I hate to tell you, Shirley, I do have to explain all these things. I do have to explain all these things in order to cut down a little bit on the completely outrageous, uninformed emails that I get. It's a sad reality. Chris wrote in and said, you're an idiot. Please invite me sometime. At least he's politely saying to invite him. So let me state this once again. I don't know where these right-wingers get this impression, but they are welcome to call into the show. I would love for them to call into the show. We want more ideological balance, especially when I take live calls. It happens that because this is a left-wing show, we have a lot more left-wing callers. That's just the reality of what it is. But we want to hear from right-wingers. And so Chris is welcome to call in when we take calls. We do it via Discord. I want to hear from you. I would love it. When we've had folks like this get on the air, which has happened a handful, 5, 10 times, something like that, 15 times. It's great. It's great in so many different ways. So Chris, you're officially invited. Please call in next time that we take live calls. I think it would be a really, really great thing. Okay, Aggressive Attitude says, isn't it funny how certain people question Michael Cohen's, quote, criminal past while completely ignoring or conveniently forgetting who Cohen committed these crimes for? Yeah, this came up on the Tuesday show, on Super Tuesday. On Tuesday, when Alina Habba, Trump's lawyer, after Trump's testimony, issued that ridiculous statement where she said, their superstar witness admits that he lied. Well, yeah, the lying is what he went to prison for, right? So Michael Cohen says, I did lie. And it was at the direction of Trump. in order to do what Trump wanted me to do as part of a criminal conspiracy directed by Donald Trump. When we talk about RICO and when we talk about conspiracy and these sorts of crimes, what we're talking about is crimes committed in service to some kind of criminal enterprise. They seem to think it's a gotcha of some kind. What I would say to them and people like the ones that aggressive attitude is referring to, that say, you can't listen to Cohen. The case can't depend on Cohen. Number one, it doesn't. There's like 100 witnesses in that case. So it doesn't depend on Michael Cohen. And number two, Michael Cohen has admitted to where he was dishonest and has otherwise not been caught lying even once. I'm not aware of a single time. And this is not because he's a friend of the show. And if he had been caught, I would ask him about it. When he comes on the show, I would say, hey, look, even though you say you lied for Trump and you haven't lied since, here's where you lied since. I haven't been able to find a single instance of that. So I think those who want to make that argument have to find some instances of Michael Cohen lying in the context of since he's done his mea culpa. And I haven't been able to find that. Donna wrote in about the border. And Donna says, David, why don't you ever talk about our border crisis? You never comment on this. What are your thoughts? Why would Joe Biden allow this? Well, it's not that I never talk about it. It's that we've talked about it so much and done a deep dive about immigration that there's very little new to say. Now, I know that there are some, I guess like Donna, who believes that something new, something special, something different is happening right now under Joe Biden. The reality is that border policy has not dramatically changed under Biden since Trump. I know that Trump and others want you to believe that by January 25th of 2021, Biden had changed border policy so much that people were just flowing in. There is a reality that there's a seasonality to undocumented immigration. There's a reality that during COVID, movement was heavily restricted. And so there was pent up demand once COVID restrictions started to ease, and Joe Biden was president during part of that. Trump was president during part of it. It is true that the Biden administration has done a lot to try to reunite families that have been separated at the border. There are still families that are separated and that have not yet been reunited, but Joe Biden has tried to deal with that. But there's not that much to say. I mean, as I've said before, we need some kind of permanent status for DACA recipients, those who were legally minors when they came to the United States undocumented with their parents. It wasn't their fault. We need to do something. We need to do something to grant them permanent status. I am completely open to rethinking how immigration is done. If someone wants to put forward a proposal, I'm not opposed to that. When it comes to visa overstays, if we decide as a country we seriously want to deal with so-called illegal immigration, we've got to put dramatically more focus on visa overstays. It is also the case that all immigrants, both legal and undocumented to the United States, are less likely to commit crimes than are natural-born American citizens. That's been widely documented. None of these things have changed, Donna. And so to the extent that I'm not talking about it, it's because there's very little new to say. And until our lawmakers actually are ready to, at a minimum, do something permanent on DACA, there isn't that much new thing to talk about. I guess what you want me to do is to do some kind of unhinged attack on what Joe Biden has done by opening the border. It's just, that's not going on. So I'm not going to do that. A user, Minimalism for Thee, asked on our subreddit, will David speak about the election in Argentina? David was born in Argentina. So not only is he allowed to vote in the election, I think he's required by law to vote. I'm not. I've been out of the country with all of my documents have been expired for a long time, and I've been out of the country long enough. I was never of voting age when I lived in Argentina. I am not required to vote. Goes on and says, Argentina is one of the few countries that doesn't let you renounce citizenship, so David can vote through his embassy, blah, blah, blah. Very curious who David would support. Most people dislike all the candidates except the Milei supporters. So here's what's going on in Argentina. In the original election, the first election in October, nobody got to 50%. So there's going to be a runoff upcoming. The candidates that will be in the runoff are this bonkers Trumpian libertarian with bizarre hair named Javier Milei. He's like right-wing, hard right. And then Sergio Massa, which is someone on the Cristina left-wing sort of like corrupt line. I don't like either of them. If I were to vote in Argentina, I almost certainly would have voted for Patricia Bullrich. She is well to my right, okay? She's probably like a Romney sort of Republican. But given all of the options, the insanity of hard right Milei, and the absurdity of saying, let's put the Christina type people in power again, given how disastrous they've been, I don't know that I would have really had much of a place. And so I probably would have gone with Bullrich. Doesn't matter because she came in third, has pledged support now to Milei. It's all a mess. If I were to vote, because voting is required in Argentina, if I were to vote in the runoff, I would probably submit a blank ballot. You're required to vote, but you can vote blank. And that's probably what I would do because both Milei and Massa are likely to be disasters for the country. So that's where I'm at right now on the situation. And then lastly, Underwater Phil weighs in on the caller who said people are taking down Trump flags. Underwater Phil says he can confirm it. He can confirm it. He said, he basically said, I've noticed less, it should be fewer Trump flags on trucks. I can 100% confirm this. Over the last 5 to 6 years across the Southwest United States, every RV park we visited would have dozens of pro-Trump flags, as well as shirts, hats, etc. It's just been a part of RV parks. Everyone's pretty cool. So it's just an observation. However, in the last 2 months, my wife and I have absolutely noticed a decline in the Trump swag around the parks. And just last night, before seeing this clip, we were talking about not seeing a single Trump flag over a 4-day RV trip we just got back from. Seems they are less eager to show it now. I hope the fever is breaking. You know, I can't tell you for sure whether Trump flags at RV parks are a leading indicator of declining support in Trump. Trump still has about 60% support among the Republican primary electorate. I hope that it is the case that declining Trump flags on pickup trucks and RVs is a sign that the fever is breaking. We can only wait and see. info@davidpakman.com if you have something to say. We will see you on the bonus show. Remember, you can sign up and get instant access to the bonus show.
A David Pakman membership costs $6 a month.
6 or only 3 if you use the coupon code FFOX. Sign up at joinpakman.com. I really hope to see you on the bonus show.